I just watched the Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. You know the one. Just came out a couple weeks ago. Actually, 1 week ago. So I'm just going to give my thoughts on this one. This is more of an unscripted type video, and let's just get into it. I thought the movie was great. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are... I've seen a lot of opinions about the movie. A wide range from it was great to wow, that was so disappointing, and everywhere in between. And I'm just going to kind of go through the whole movie starting at the beginning. And so let's just go through it. The movie opens with kind of the ending, actually. It does that thing where it like shows you a sneak peek at the ending, but then like goes back, you know. And it's about, it gets into Telemachus right away. And that is something I can appreciate because in the story, it actually starts with Telemachus. Instead of, in Epic, it starts with Odysseus in Troy, which, that's where Odysseus's journey starts. But in the story, it starts with Telemachus at Ithaca. And at first, I was kind of questioning whether Tom Holland would play a good Telemachus. And honestly, the more the movie went on, the more I loved it. I'm always so conflicted about Tom Holland because I like him. He's a good actor. But anytime I see him in anything, I can't unsee Spider-Man. And Zendaya's in this too, which is a weird casting decision, I think. But I honestly wasn't bugged about it too much because Athena, aka Zendaya, was barely in this movie. And we'll get into that. But actually, let's get into that right now. Athena was not in this movie. Like at all. And not just Athena, there was no Zeus, there was no Poseidon, there was no who's the other gods? I'm forgetting. Hermes. We did get what's her face? Calypso, if you count her as a goddess. But that's not one of the main gods, We hear mentions of them, but we never actually see Zeus or Poseidon. And that kind of made me sad. I get kind of the vibe they're going for. I get why they did that. I get why Christopher Nolan chose not to cast Zeus or Poseidon. But yeah, Athena, she's played by Zendaya. She does a great job. They're both great actors, both Zendaya and Tom Holland. It's just Athena was underused. She's in 4 scenes, and she's a goddess of wisdom. She gives advice to Odysseus once or twice, but other than that, she's mostly just sad because Odysseus kind of betrayed her in Troy by letting his men take the statue of Athena. No, it was they cut the statue of Athena's head off, and that made Athena upset. And so she's upset for the whole movie until Odysseus kind of reconciles with her and Penelope at the end. So really not much, not part of the story at all. I love Telemachus' whole bit. Telemachus learning how to be a warrior, being taught by this mentor guy. Not mentor's character, but not him, but being mentored by the old guy who's still faithful to Odysseus. And the dog's there, the dog. Good part about the dog. Apparently he's not in the original story, but he was welcome addition. He had a little arc there by waiting for Odysseus at his palace. And then Odysseus shows up and pets the dog right before it dies. So, the dog saw Odysseus one last time before he died, before the dog died. And then Telemachus is like, whoa, hey, that's Odysseus. You're my dad. But Odysseus denies it because he doesn't want to, word to get out. But yeah, Telemachus knows that he's just playing along. And so, yeah, that's at the end. I'm kind of skipping ahead. But going back to the beginning, we see it starts with Odysseus actually on the shore of Calypso's island. And it's him not remembering anything. It's a nice way to slowly introduce the characters and the story, because Odysseus he's brain from all the torment he's been through, is still recovering, and he's starting to remember more. It actually kind of skips past the Troy segment, because we'll get to that kind of like the middle-ish end, where he's giving exposition about, how brutal he was in Troy, how many people they killed, how he betrayed Athena. That's kind of at the end. If I remember correctly, it has been a couple days, so sorry. I'm sorry if I get a couple details wrong, but I think the first island was Polyphemus, I think is how you pronounce it, but the Cyclops. The first island is the Cyclops. And, this is the part of the movie where I realize I have to lock in or I'm not going to understand what's going on, because this part was a little confusing. The Cyclops, is there. The CG is pretty good. The whole crew is afraid when they kill the sheep. It is loud, by the way, in theaters, in the cinema. That was straight out of a horror movie scream. It is loud. Wow. That Cyclops is scary. And so, the Cyclops, they kind of just wait in the cave. It appears that some people escape, but some don't. It is kind of hard to see with the dark. But yeah, Odysseus does his old trick by stabbing him in the eye and escaping with the sheep and running away. And the Cyclops actually follows them to their ship, almost catches up to them, kills a couple people. And one complaint I do have with this movie, and again, I've kind of already mentioned it, it's just that the whole journey of Odysseus is really fast-paced. It goes quick. I'd say a third of the movie is his journey, when I feel like it should have been half of the movie. Because a third of the movie is his journey, a third of the movie is Ithaca with Telemachus and Penelope and the suitors, and the last third of the movie is like Odysseus hiding and waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, reveal that it's him, kill all the suitors, and live happily ever after with Penelope. That's what it felt like. And I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And this is just a personal preference, because I am so in love with Epic the Musical. And that musical was like 90% his journey and 10% Ithaca. And so it's kind of hard, I think, for me to transition from that. And that's not a good way either. I really think it should have been like half and half. So yeah, he goes from the Cyclops Island to the land of the giants. I think it's the Larthagorians. I really should have pulled up a pronunciation thing before I started this, but I did not. It's the land of the giants. And wow, they are giant. They are wearing silver armor. They have these giant swords. It starts with this little kid. I think it's probably in the story, but the little kid screams, alerting all the giants, and they kill a lot of people. And this is similar to Poseidon wiping 500 men out of his army. This is basically what happened. You see that the ship's being torn apart by the giants, and only Odysseus's ship makes it across. This is supposed to be like a heartbreaking moment for them. But honestly, I don't know. I wasn't really feeling remorse for Odysseus and his crew until kind of later. This part was supposed to be like, wow, all of his crew is dying. But it's just really hard to feel remorse, because the giants they're tearing the ships apart. But they're not actually like giant. They're just like 8 foot, 9 foot men. And he's just kind of slowly tearing apart the ship and killing all of the crew except Odysseus's boat. And I don't know, it's just kind of awkward to watch. I don't mean to be so negative, by the way. I did enjoy this movie. It's just, I had high expectations, and so I'm kind of delivering my thoughts. And it's kind of just spewing out now. And so after the land of the giants, they travel to Circe's island. And I do love this, the way Circe is portrayed. She's this witch. It's just her on this island in this house, and then the crew basically throws a mutiny against Odysseus, and they go and get turned into pigs. I think less time could have been spent on the graphic elements of being turned into a pig. I feel like there was like a whole 2 minutes of just them turning into pigs. But it was also coupled with Odysseus finding out that, hey, all of the animals on this island are humans. So it kind of works, I'd say. And then, the underworld scene. Cersei tells them to go to the underworld after they make up, And the underworld scene was so cool. Normally the underworld, Hades, hell, is portrayed as this, like, cave portal entrance, but Odysseus' crew just arrives through the fog. It's very realistic, like I said. Or not realistic, but it portrays it as, like, something that could actually happen. Like a crew gets, like, lost in the fog and they end up in Hades. And so they enter Hades. No Hades in Hades. But that's okay. We find all of Odysseus' dead men, which is just a super tense moment. They're super mad at Odysseus, but he gets the information he needs from the prophet, from Cinna. I think it's Cinna. Every time I hear Cinna, I think of the Hunger Games Cinna, but I'm pretty sure it's Cinna. One of the Antonius's son, I think. I kind of missed this part at the beginning, and I really wish I paid attention more. But I think it's Antonius's son, and he just wants revenge against him because, like, he was trying to get money for, like, not being a part of the war or something. I forgot. Antonius is mad that he didn't get to go with Odysseus to Troy, but he is one of the suitors and tries to marry Penelope, and it's this whole thing, and he's basically the final boss. And so we'll get to that part, but yeah, I love Hades. The way the crew just chases after Odysseus and his men out to the ships, it's super cool. And then we get to the Sirens, and the Sirens, I don't know why they included this part. I mean, they needed to because it's part of the story. I'm glad they did because it's faithful to the story, but this did nothing for the plot of the movie. Odysseus puts beeswax in his men's ears so they don't fall victim to the music, but Odysseus they tie him up to the ship, like the story. And in the story, in the original Odyssey, Odysseus talks with the Sirens to get information about where to go and how to get home. And that just doesn't happen. Odysseus just sits on the boat, tied up, screaming, because he wants to be with the Sirens. And that's it. He doesn't talk to them. He doesn't get any information from them. He already knows where to go from Cersei. Cersei tells them, go through the Sirens and go through the Scylla. Go through the layer of Scylla. And I don't understand why Odysseus couldn't just use the beeswax, because he's just torturing himself for fun, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, it's a cool scene nonetheless. They actually have a motif, kind of like an epic for Penelope. I forget the motif, but it's this like little 4-note motif in it. They play it. It's cool. It's epic. Get it? Epic. And then they go to the whirlpool and the layer of Scylla, and this is brilliant. Odysseus tricks his men into going into the layer of Scylla by pretending that he wants to go into the whirlpool, and all of his men are like, no, and then Eurylochus revolts, and then they actually go through the layer of Scylla, and 6 of their men die, and Eurylochus is really mad. They stop at a sun god's cattle, Apollo's cattle, not Apollo. Who's a sun god? I don't remember. But they stop there, and the whole crew revolts. They eat the cows while Odysseus isn't looking. Odysseus is mad. Athena's there for like a second. I forgot what she said, probably something wise. And then this part is cool. The lightning storm from Zeus. Lightning everywhere in the cinema. It's absolute chaos. You can see lightning strike the boat, separating Odysseus and the rest of his crew. The rest of his crew die. It's this really heartbreaking moment. It's a really good moment, and yet I think epic is better because it shows Zeus and it shows him actually making the choice, hey, Penelope is more important than my crew. And I just don't feel like we get that from the movie. But it is a cool moment nonetheless. And then he ends up on Circe's Island, remembers everything. This is where he remembers the Trojan War. And it's in pieces everywhere. It's not like all at once. But I'd say I think a majority of the Trojan War is remembered here. Either here or in Ithaca when he's talking to Penelope in disguise. And so, yeah, he goes on a raft, goes away. Circe couldn't care less. I feel like Circe should have been more obsessed with Odysseus, but really Circe was kind of a Chad in this movie. She just kind of let him come to and wake up and remember and be on his way. And he went on his way, ends up in Ithaca pretty quickly. And then the rest of the movie is really cool. I really wished Epic would have touched on this more. It's really just Odysseus' journey to get back to being king. And it's glided over in Epic, but it's a long process. He has to talk to the suitors. He has to talk to the old man who is still faithful to him. He talks to Telemachus, and nobody recognizes him. And I think that's really cool. They really do a good job. All the actors did a great job, I'd say, in playing their part. Odysseus is like this old man, and I'm just in this moment. I am just waiting for Odysseus to just turn the tables, and absolutely murder everyone. Because yeah, they really make you hate the suitors in this movie, and that is a good thing because they are disgusting. They should be hated, and they all get killed in the end. So, Telemachus finds out that Odysseus is really his father through the dog thing I mentioned earlier, and the servants steal the weapons, just like in the story. Odysseus strings that bow and shoots right through the 12 axes, and they all realize it's him. Panic. Odysseus shoots everyone. It's absolutely great. And then Odysseus, with the help of Telemachus, slaughters Antonius, who's like the mob boss, basically. And that part was really cool. All of the choreography was, I'd say, top notch. Odysseus feels like an old man, but he still like has his bow. He's still really good at using his bow. And then when he gets the sword, he's whacking away at Antonius, and he wins. And here's where I thought the movie was gonna go really south, and it's because Odysseus is like hurt after he's done battling, and I really thought they were gonna kill off Odysseus, and that would have been, I would have hated this movie if they did that, because that's not how the story goes, and two, after all that, you still end up dying. But they don't go that way. Instead, they go an interesting way. I think it's Christopher Nolan taking liberties here. I didn't mind the ending, but basically what happens is Odysseus and Penelope exile themselves and travel the world, or travel somewhere else so they can live a peaceful life. And good for them. They've been through a lot. They have. And they leave Telemachus as king, who has proven himself through protecting Odysseus and being strong. I skipped this whole part in the middle where it was like Telemachus traveling to Agamemnon's. Oh, there's this thing with Agamemnon too. He travels to Agamemnon's kingdom, and he finds out he's dead because when Agamemnon arrived home, he was killed by his own people, by his wife, by the queen, and I think it's his cousin or his brother becomes the king, and it's this whole thing, Helen. And that isn't mentioned at all in Epic. I really loved learning more about that because, like I said, I haven't read the original story, and it was cool to see some of that backstory, even some of the stuff from Ilium, or the Iliad, into this movie, and I thought that was cool. And Agamemnon, he's such a character. I mean, Epic does not do Agamemnon justice. Agamemnon is kind of better than Odysseus is too. He's higher in authority. Like Odysseus even bows to him. He has this like super long, majestic helmet with that red mane on top of it. Way nicer than any of the other soldiers. And he actually goes his separate ways right after Troy, and doesn't end up lost like Odysseus, but he arrives home and is killed, so that sucks. But yeah, that's basically, word gets around to Odysseus that, hey, don't do this. Don't present yourself as the king, or you will, you're gonna get killed because you've been away for 20 years. And so yeah, I think that's everything. Telemachus does this journey. He becomes king in the end, and I think I really love the movie. Super realistic. Christopher Nolan did a great job adapting a 2,000-year-old story into a movie. It's very, very faithful. Even at it's too faithful at the expense of like not being clear enough to general audiences. I'd say if you don't know anything about mythology, you will not enjoy this movie. If you even know the story a little bit, or have like watched Epic, I'd say you'd like this movie because it touches on things not in Epic. And so yeah, I'd recommend this to anyone even slightly interested in Greek mythology. Thank you very much. Goodbye.